music. So hello everyone, this is the Pro Motors team. Today we're going to take apart this engine. This is a Mercedes-Benz 501. This engine was taken out of a vehicle like this. The reason for removal is, let's say, planned repair. The engine has blow-by, the engine is consuming oil. In general, the engine doesn't pull well. So this is a V6 engine with a turbocharger and an intercooler. So it has the following technical specifications. This is an OM engine of the 5th generation, from the OM 5th generation series. Before this, I had 4th generation engines, too, like the 401, 407, 422, and so on. So this is the 5th generation. As motor difference, here we have, well, I'll show all the differences as I take it apart. But the main difference is the cylinder head. The cylinder head has 4 valves per cylinder, and you can see that there isn't a single fuel pump here. Instead, with individual fuel pumps for each cylinder, they're installed directly into the engine block, and it turns out that the plunger drive comes directly from the camshaft. So the camshaft operates both the valves and the individual fuel pump. The amount of fuel and the injection timing are controlled by a solenoid valve. So here we have the engine control unit. There are sensors everywhere connected to it with these bundles of wires going to it. So let's say this is already a more modern engine. For example, you can just start it up here on the table. Otherwise it's actually quite similar to the engines of the 4 Series. Now, I'll start taking everything apart as we go. I'll explain and show everything. I've already recorded some footage. Next, I'll add clips showing how we removed the engine from the car and how I cleaned it. After washing, it went to my workshop. I removed the gearbox, drained the oil, and have footage of it too. So I removed the gearbox. Right away we can see that we need a repair kit for the clutch fork. There's a bushing there, we might need to replace it in the shaft. We'll see as we go. So I drained the oil. We can see the volume is about 35 liters net, which is as it should be. And basically everything is normal. As for the emulsion, the oil is black and there's basically no emulsion. So we see the oil is black, there's no emulsion. That means coolant or antifreeze isn't getting into the oil. Basically that's good. Next, what else do I want to say? I also want to show the plug. I unscrewed the plug and saw that there were some shavings on it, yeah, like metal shavings. At first I thought everything was covered in oil. I didn't understand anything right away. I thought, where are these shavings coming from? Then I looked and saw that there was some kind of thread seal material wrapped around the threads here. Apparently the plug is homemade. Maybe it was leaking or something. Anyway, we'll take a look at the plug itself. We'll check the oil pan too. Maybe we'll have to rethread it, make a new thread. But anyway, we'll pay attention to the plug. So the oil is drained now. I'm screwing the plug back in and taking the engine to the workbench. And we'll start disassembling. So I'm starting the disassembly. As usual, we begin by removing all these pipes, hoses, the turbo, this plate, well, basically the valve covers, the fan. In general, we take everything apart as we go. The alternator is still there and the starter is still in place. We disassemble as usual, check for defect, repair some things ourselves and send some things out to a third-party repair shop. Basically everything is as usual. So here's what I've already noticed. We see the engine brake. We'll need to order an O-ring repair kit. There's a shaft there, probably bushings and so on. Now about the mileage, I don't know how many miles the engine has done, but the new owner, the customer who brought me this engine for repair, that has already driven 400,000 kilometers on it without any repairs. What else do I want to say? I'm not sure if this engine, like the cylinder heads or pistons, has been opened, but the oil pan is clearly sealed with gasket maker. Yeah, so there's this layer of gasket maker. So I take it off to check, and it looks brand new, like it just came from the factory, even though the car is 17 or 18 years old. I've removed most attachments. I just need to take off the wiring control unit and heat exchanger. The main parts are already off. Now I'm going to remove the wiring from the fuel pumps. I'll take off the fuel lines. I'll remove the return line and here, the supply line. I'm clearing everything from the top now. Then I'll remove the valve covers and heads. So yesterday I was taking things apart, then my camera battery died. My battery died. So I just gave up on everything and went home. So yesterday, this is the amount of work I did. I only removed the transmission, took off all the attachments, so to speak, and removed only 3 heads. So I took off these 3 heads, and what do I want to show? First, check the sleeve on the 3rd cylinder for marks. The customer reported the engine had severe blow-by. When I opened the oil filler cap, the engine released a lot of fumes, gases and white smoke. We checked the sleeve and found heavy scoring. I'm not sure if the camera shows it. Now I'll try to take either a photo or a video on my phone. So there are scoring like this all over the cylinder. You can feel them clearly with your finger. I'm actually surprised that it didn't just break down somewhere on the road. It could completely weld the piston to the cylinder liner, and then the engine wouldn't turn at all, and so on. So the wear, I'm not sure how to explain it, but the wear here is probably about 0.5 millimeter. On the 6th cylinder liner, it's similar. Looking closer, you can still see cross hatch up to this point, but beyond that, it disappears and shows the same wear scoring, and so on. I removed the cylinder head so we can see under the 6-cylinder liner, for example, there's corrosion on the block under the cylinder head. Right here there's a noticeable ridge. You can clearly see everything is eaten away corrosion, and it extends in this direction. I don't know yet. Of course, I'm not making any conclusions right now, but I'll take the engine apart and we'll think about what options are possible. Well, basically, there aren't many options. Either leave it as it is or replace the block, but that option doesn't seem very realistic to me. Or look for a place where they restore these surfaces. For now, that's just thinking out loud. We'll decide once we take everything apart. The 4th and 5th ones also have some corrosion, but I haven't cleaned anything yet. The outer rubber ring has delaminated and we can see that water got in here. We can see deposits and corrosion on the gasket as well. In general, I think no one has removed the cylinder head since it was manufactured. The cylinder heads will go to the surface grinding machine and we'll disassemble the valves, but that's all for later. We'll get back to that. For now, my task is to fully disassemble the engine. So what else did I notice? You see, there's a crack on the mounting foot here, right? We can see it starting from here. So we'll either need to weld this foot or look for another one to replace it. So yesterday I was removing the cylinder heads and filming a video. I'm not sure what got recorded because the camera died, so I'll repeat it now. I'll also set up the tripod for these 3 cylinder heads. Alright, so I've removed the valve covers and I want to briefly explain what's going on here. We have a hose, well, a small tube, and this is where the air supply goes. Under this cap there's a spring. Basically it's also a valve, a decompressor that releases compression in the cylinders. This works when the engine brake is engaged. So we can also see that there's this bracket here. It holds the cap in place and it also secures the injector. Yeah, everything is held together by a single bolt. So this is the rocker arm, the intake and exhaust rocker arm. And this rocker arm presses directly through another spacer. You could say a rocker, it presses on 2 valves, so 2 intake valves and 2 exhaust valves. Well, basically that's it. I've explained it in a nutshell. We also have this nut that gets screwed in. It holds the fuel line, which supplies fuel to the injector. The nut is unscrewed, the fuel line is removed, and then the injector itself is taken out. Next, I remove the control unit and wiring that disconnect the cylinder with the head and piston. Then remove these two mounts and turn the engine over. I removed the flywheel and saw everything covered in oil. The oil seal looked a bit damp, but didn't seem to be leaking much, if at all. So we can see that the main oil leaks are coming from these spots. There's a guy there. And why oil is coming through it is really interesting. I'll take it apart now and check. You can see the second one is the same. Maybe the bolts are loose or the cover is shifting. I'll take it apart now and check. The important thing is we've confirmed the oil is coming from the engine, not the gearbox. You could tell by the black oil. I also removed the front cover, and everything under the pulley and heat exchanger is covered in oil too. We can see that the oil seal is also leaking here. These are the kind of oily deposits mixed with dirt. It seems to fit tightly in the housing. The seal might still rotate inside the housing. If you look at it this way, there's a border here by the dirt, right in this spot. No, it doesn't seem to be turning, it's just a mark from the washer. And here we have the camshaft. Did you see how the oil control ring shattered? So it was broken into many pieces. It turns out the spring presses on it, this spring pushes it apart. As soon as it came out of the sleeve, it shattered into many pieces. Alright, about the bearings. The bearings are standard with the Mercedes logo and the MIBA logo. So at the Mercedes factory they install MIBA bearings on the assembly line. I've seen this more than once. I've confirmed it many times. That's why I also try to use MIBA bearings. So we see here we have 0703 here. That means the car is from 2003. So the bearings are still original with the Mercedes logo. And here is the bearing number. As for their condition, the bearings are just excellent. For this mileage and age, they're simply perfect. So I've already checked there. Both the crankshaft is in excellent condition and the bearing is in good condition. The only thing that's really bad in this engine is the piston and ring assembly. Right. There's wear on this cylinder liner here. I'm not sure how to remove the piston and rings through this worn area. They probably won't come out, so I'll likely have to remove the liner with the piston. The first interesting thing here is how the oil control ring shattered. As for the pistons are basically also in satisfactory condition. Well, at least this piston is. We'll take a closer look at the rest now. There are scratches like this on the skirt on one side, and it's better on the other side. Most likely we'll end up with a new piston assembly anyway. We're taking it apart for now and we'll see how it goes. We can see the oil control ring on the first cylinder is shattered and the ring on the second cylinder is also broken. Here you see that, right? That is, it didn't shatter or fall out, but the ring is broken here. See, it's in pieces. I'm not sure about the third cylinder yet. I'll remove the piston now so we can check it. So the fourth cylinder, as we can see, the oil control ring has also shattered, and the compression ring is stuck, it doesn't move. The first ring moves, but the second is stuck and doesn't. That's it. As we can see, the main bearings are in excellent condition. No scuffs or scratches, so they're perfect. They're also standard size with the Mercedes and Miba logos. So the crankshaft is just in perfect condition. And here I think there isn't even 200ths of wear. So the engine is disassembled. I've removed the crankshaft and the camshaft, and I want to make some preliminary conclusions. Why preliminary? Because everything is still dirty, everything still needs to be cleaned. After I wash and clean everything, there may be some adjustments, but that's how it usually goes. The crankshaft is in perfect shape and the bearings are also in excellent condition. Visually, the crankshaft looks perfect. I'll wipe it down, measure it, and check specs later, but that's how it is for now. So about the camshaft is also in perfect condition. Even if you look at the bearing journal, you can see the spot where the bushing rode, and in this spot you can't even feel it. It's just like a pattern, just a shine on the metal. The lobes are also all in perfect condition. There's no wear anywhere. There's no chipping anywhere, so the lobes are also all in excellent condition. I think there shouldn't be any issues with the camshaft either. Now, the liners are in terrible condition. I showed the liners and how worn they are. Yes, even on this camera, you can probably see from here how much wear there is. There's a ridge here, probably a millimeter if not more. I honestly can't remember the last time I saw this much wear on the liners, even when dust gets into the cylinders. And overall, with this engine, it's just really strange. For example, the whole crank assembly is in perfect condition, right? I mean, the crankshaft, the bearings, and so on. But the piston and cylinder assembly is in terrible condition. There's this much wear on the liners, and all the oil control rings are broken. Here are the oil control rings, just look at the condition they're in. So just like I showed before, on the fourth cylinder, we have a stuck ring. Apparently it doesn't move. Well, and the customer also said that they did a diagnostic showing that there was no compression in the fourth cylinder. So here's what else I want to say. You can see on the liners that they're like this, like from overheating. Yeah, there's a mark like that. Maybe the engine was overheated. Because of that, the rings broke, the rings got stuck and so on. Maybe not the current owner. Maybe the previous owner overheated it. Well, you can see on the liners that there are these bluish spots. So, in my opinion, the engine was overheated, and that's why this happened with the rings. Now, about the cylinder heads, I'll be taking the heads apart. They'll go on the surface grinder, I'll be disassembling the valves, we may need to replace the valve guides and the valves, and so on. Just routine work, as I showed track heroes. The sixth cylinder on the block has significant corrosion. As we can see, the ring on the sixth cylinder is torn off. Or rather, this rubber strip that runs around the gasket's perimeter. And we can see that it's torn off. As a result, it started leaking between the gasket and the block. Water started getting in, corrosion began, and here's the result. We'll send the pumps and injectors for inspection. They were serviced about 150,000 to 200,000 kilometers ago, supposedly not long ago. But in any case, we'll send them for inspection. As for the gaskets, I think we need to get a full set of gaskets, a good brand, like say L-Ring or Victor Reinz. It won't be cheap. I think it'll be around 30 to 40,000 rubles. But at least we'll have a complete set of good gaskets. Yeah, because this engine has a lot of different little rubber seals like that. Yeah, for example, there are rubber seals on the pumps, rubber seals on the injectors, and rubber seals somewhere else. In general, there are a lot of these small seals that are very important for us. For example, if this rubber seal starts leaking diesel, this is the channel where the diesel flows, and this goes into the engine crankcase. If this rubber seal has hardened and started leaking, the diesel will get into the oil, and that's it. We've damaged the crankshaft, the bearings, and so on. Alright, I think I've said everything, covered it all. Maybe I forgot something, but in the future, if there are any corrections, or if I remember something else, I'll definitely mention it in the next episodes. So, this will be our first episode about this engine. Next, we'll have the assembly of this engine, probably 2 episodes, no more. And maybe there will also be painting. There won't be a bench run because everything here is electronic. Bench running this engine is difficult, so there won't be a test run there. I'll try to film both the installation and startup in the car. I'll try to film driving out of the garage and so on. So, a full series, just like always. So, I'll be ending this episode here. Thank you all for watching. Good luck to everyone. Bye everyone.